Hello and happy Monday. As you can see, I am still in no video editing mode. I will get to those projects eventually. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Last week, thankfully, wasn't as busy as previous weeks, but I did get to kind of enjoy the weekend and do things that were not work or school related. So, really happy to get a little bit of a break, but it is Monday and it's back into to work school mode. So, like last week, today's video is pretty much just going to be reading something that I've written before. Hopefully, this is somewhat enjoyable. Than just because I think so. I've tried writing poetry before, and but spoken word poetry, like performing what you've written, I think just adds another layer to it that sometimes isn't communicated by punctuation. I think a person's voice adds another layer to the written word. And so that's why I am reading these articles, so to kind of give you a sense of the voice beyond the words. Writing has been something that I've enjoyed doing since childhood, but I was never really consistent with writing. And so these past few months, actually, I've been trying to write more consistently. And I've joined something called the Young Writers Workshop, and it's by the authors of Do Hard Things, and they're helping young people become better writers, and they have different courses from fiction, nonfiction, and so I'm doing that as well and trying to write more consistently. So I've been working on a series of 3 articles. The first one is grapes, the second one is freeways, and the third one is mountains. And the idea is to pick an object and then write about the connected memories to that object. And so this is the first article. It's been out on my blog for a couple of weeks already, but now you get to hear me reading it. And tonight, hopefully, I will be publishing Freeways, the second article. Hopefully, it's not done yet. But anyway, without further ado, here is Grapes. Mountains, freeways, grapes. Those were the first 3 things that stood out to me when I first moved to the US. I grew up in a small city in a provincial town in the Philippines, so small you could count the number of stoplights on one hand. We didn't have a lot of modern luxuries like warm water from a faucet or our own car, but I loved our little barangay. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. My mom would carefully plan out our trips to the grocery store and the open market. We made a weekly menu and drew up a list of ingredients based off of it. And we stuck to the list. Pointing out something we liked while shopping and getting it was an exception, not the norm. When it came to buying fruits, we usually got apples or pears, one or the other, but not both. My absolute favorite fruit was grapes. But the grapes were always so expensive that we never got the quantity we wanted. We were a family of 6, and the price to satisfy that many people would be exorbitant. Bigger fruits that were just as nutritious, such as papayas and bananas, were usually less expensive. To me, grapes were something special. When discussing moving to the US, my mom would tell us about the variety of opportunities that would be open to us. All my life, I had lived in the same town, on the same island, knowing the same people. To be suddenly pulled away from all of that was extremely terrifying. My 11-year-old mind could not grasp the importance of an adult's career options and the depth of the word opportunities. I did, however, understand choices. Apples, pears, or grapes. Which will it be? In the US, you can choose grapes, even on a regular day. After a long flight, we deplaned at Los Angeles International Airport, LAX. This was it. This was the land of opportunities. My 13-year-old brother and I stuck close to our mother as we navigated through the airport, immigration, and customs. Then it was out into the cold air. We had arrived in December, and while Southern California's winters are not known for the cold, for a girl moving from the tropics, it was freezing. We had bought jackets and winter clothes leading up to the move, but the wind just passed right through them and stole warmth from my body. When I later mentioned this experience to my mom said it was 86 degrees Fahrenheit when we arrived. Nowadays, I would consider that warm, but then I was unaccustomed to the weather and a strong frosty wind added to it. My aunt drove up to the curb in an SUV. We loaded our luggage, bags, and boxes into her car and drove off. On the middle seat next to me were 2 bags of grapes, one red, one green. The year was 2008, and the land of opportunities held few for us. Watching my parents struggle to find work, I secretly scoffed at the idea that this land was as plentiful as they claimed. Because back in the Philippines, we had a house and miles of outdoors that served as my playground. Years later, I went to Disneyland for the first time. My friends would say, "This is the best place," retelling the 101 times they had visited. "How have you lived your entire life and never been to Disneyland?" they would ask. "I grew up with a zip line in my front yard," I would reply. Who needed Disneyland when your own home was a theme park unto itself? We climbed trees, slept under the night sky filled with stars. We swam in rivers and camped next to the ocean. We had a wide variety of pets, from your regular dog, cat, hamster, and the more exotic pets such as parrots, owls, eagles, and snakes. Where the US is the land of choices, the Philippines was the land of adventures. It was the perfect place to have grown up in. When a wealthy relative came to visit our home, with its cement floor bathroom without tiles, no shower or flush, you would have to manually pour a bucket of water. She would disparage my parents' choices. But that was my life, all I had ever known. I did not understand the life she contrasted to our poverty. My life was a good one, and I had no need for a fancy bathroom to enjoy it. In the US, hot water came on demand. There was no need to boil it on the stove beforehand. In the US, we had a shower, bathtub, and a toilet that could flush by pushing a tiny handle. In fact, 2 of each. But it meant giving up a front yard, green forests, clear ocean water, beautiful beaches, and the outdoors. I thought it cost too much. It would take me years to realize that in the US, I still had access to all of those things. My family struggled for a bit, and in some respects are still struggling. But by sticking to our values, prioritizing family, and making wise financial decisions, my siblings bought our family our own house 2.5 years ago. It comes with front and backyards. I worked my way through youth programs and paid for trips and events myself. The Disneyland trip I mentioned earlier was with my Girl Scout troop. By selling cookies, I paid for the trip as well as summer trips to surf camp, whitewater rafting, San Francisco, and Yosemite. As I grew older, I came to understand the importance of an income. I wanted to do so many things, and I resolved to do them without placing a financial burden on my family. I took flight lessons, figure skated, traveled to Costa Rica, and am about to graduate from college. How much do I owe in student debt? 0. I worked my way through college and even studied abroad. My family paid for my ticket, but I paid for my own rent, tuition, and living expenses. In the US, a young person can work and go to school at the same time. In the Philippines, it was one or the other. A family would pool together all its resources and send one child to school. All their hopes, dreams, and the future of their family rested on that child's shoulders. I have not had to carry such a burden because my family insured it. I am not my siblings' responsibility, but they, together with my parents, made sure I had the resources I needed to succeed. When my work got inconvenient, my eldest sister urged me to quit my job to focus on my studies. Because of them, I had that option. Because we lived in the US, we were able to rise up out of poverty. In the US, a girl from the provincia with no money to her name could raise enough funds for her education and graduate without debt. By no means is this even the norm in the US. Like I said earlier, it's a land of choices, and certain choices lead to debt and poverty. However, within the same generation, a family may also rise up from them. When I moved to Japan in September 2019 and went grocery shopping for the first time, I was shocked by how expensive fresh produce was. Fruit, in particular, was priced astronomically. Prices for grapes at a typical grocery store would range from $12 to $50 a pound. The higher-end grapes would be beautifully packaged. I waited until my birthday to buy grapes. I bought the lower end grapes, spending $13, but they were absolutely delicious. Even in Japan, grapes were saved for special occasions. But in the country that adopted me, I could choose grapes, even on a regular day. So that is it. That's my article called Grapes, and the next one will be Freeways, and hopefully that'll be coming out tonight. I hope you guys have a great Monday. Sorry for stumbling over some of those sentences, but I am tired and I don't have time to retake it. So that's it for now. You guys have a great week. Bye.